Hey, how's it going? In today's episode, we are going to continue with the second part about how to manage groups in Linux. In today's episode, we are going to cover maybe a little bit about primary and secondary groups, but I already told you about that. And also, we are going to cover basic commands again, how to add user, remove user, but using an example and also covering how to handle inherit permissions per directory or using the bit ASGID or set group ID that allows to maybe keep a specific group in files and folders if the parent folder have a certain group. That means if, for example, my set group ID about the, I don't know, team folder is h top users and the set group ID is enabled, all files and folders created into the team folder will be created with the group h top users. That doesn't matter if the primary group of the user is Debian or is anything else. If the set group ID is enabled, all the files and folders created in that folder will be use the group parents folder. So let's start with the most basic command. Remember, also ID, in my case Debian, and as you can see, Debian is already into the htop user. So if you need to remember how to remove user, remember the command is using sudo passwd param delete. The group name is htop users, and the user is Debian. So okay, in the other hand is the first Debian, the user, and the group's name is user. So Debian is no longer in the htop users. So to add a user to a group, remember use the, well, depends on the kind of the group. For example, remember there are a group that could be a primary group of a user or another secondary group. Remember, the primary group allows to keep a same group of creation about files and folder depending on the, well, on that, or about the user group, about the user primary group. For example, if my user is Debian and its primary group is Debian also, all files and folder I create will be used that primary group. As well, an example is this one. As you can see, the files created by me, like base de datos, database exercise nginx, I create this on where for myself, by myself, and as you can see, use the Debian because actually, if you see again ID Debian, the primary group of the user Debian is the group Debian. So all the files and folders I create will keep that group. But if I change my group to htop and I assign htop as primary group, all files and folder I create will use that primary group instead of Debian. Well, depends, because I already told you about this. If I change my primary group, it will be changed all these configurations, but that's not the natural or normal behavior, because the normal behavior is keep the old one, in this case Debian. But in my case, if I change my primary group, also it will be changed all the existing files. That doesn't make sense, because that is not the idea. So in other hand, also to add a user to a group to a user as a secondary group, you can use, remember, user mod, because this is about the user modification, and you can use the parameter lowercase a and uppercase g, and the group name or the group's name, for example, htop users, and the username is, in my case, Debian. Also, if you want to add this user to another groups using the same command, you can separate with comma. So we have the group 2, comma, group 3, and more. But in my case, it's just one group. So let's use this one. As you can see, if I use Debian, the new group is just right there. So, and the other one is group. Remember, maybe I'm sorry, is groups. The file name is group, but the command is groups. And as you can see, we have the same, well, inside quotation mark, the same output. Maybe one of you guys are asking about, hey, why there are different commands with the same with the same task or the same use. And maybe you're asking, yeah, you are right. For example, I just right there with ID, I have the groups of the user and the groups. Also, we have the user group, but all depends about the format, the command format that give us the information. For example, if I am making making a bash script that needs the users groups, and I need to format the information, and I only need the group name. So let's see the difference between ID and groups. If I use ID, I have to remove the first ones and just keep the information after groups. But also I have to remove the group ID and the parentheses, the commas. Well, I can use commas as a separator, but it's a lot of work doing this post format. And in the groups case, as you can see, we only have the username separate with a colon, and following we have the names groups, just the names groups, and separate using a space. So it's so useful if we need only for a certain operation use groups to keep or use the user groups. So that is the idea. Maybe have the same use, well, do the same work, but in a different way. So let's get into the inherit permission. I already told you what is inherit permission. So let's look at in practice. So I don't have a folder right there. So let's create, for example, the team folder. So mkdir team lsla. As you can see, by default, we have this information just right there. Also, we have the, how can I say this? The user author and the group about this folder. The group is important because the groups is another way to get users and give them a certain permissions. So if we are talking about Debian, if we config this folder to only Debian's user can perform action inside of it, well, this is important, but also depend on the permissions. So before that, let's explain about permission, but not in deep. This format just right there allows to know about the nature, about the entity. When I talk about entity, I am talking about files, folders, and other ones. But at this moment, let's see only for files and folders. And as you can see, the first character we see is this one, or the D. If we use the D, is because this is a directory, and if we see this one is a file. So after that, we have this one that repeats 3 times: rwx r space x r space x, because there are 3 ways to distribute permission about a folder or a file, and it's split into the author, the group, and all from outside the group, or the rest, or others. So for example, if I want to make public my file, I can assign in this section that all guys can read, write, and execute this file or this folder. But if I change this part and I remove the writable and executable permissions, no one can execute or read my folder, at least or only for the author and the members of the group. So the group is important. So let's see the inherit permissions. To set or enable an inherit permission to a folder, we use the chmod. So let's use sudo chmod g plus s and the the path folder or the folders path. So home, in this case Debian, and team. So let's notice something important and look the change. Maybe it's interesting because the executable in the group section changed by changed with an S, and that means all the folders and files created into the team will be used this group just right there, Debian group. Maybe it could be a bit redundant because we are in the Debian's home folder and there is no different just right there. So let's change the group folder to another one and notice the difference. To change the group in a folder, we can use the sudo sh group, and in this case let's use htop users and the team folder. So let's see this again, and we already have htop user. So let's get into this folder team, and also we can use this command and it will show you this will show us only the information about the folder we are get into. So yeah, as you can see, we have the inherit permissions enable is for htop user. That means all file and folder created into this folder will be used this group. So let's see. I am going to create this one and nose txt, and as you can see, the permission for this nose txt text is htop users, and that's all. And maybe I can demonstrate using another user. So let's go to, for example, Chryslo, and maybe let me see something. Chryslo is not it's not longer from htop user, so it's helpful to show you that if the htop users use this following rule about read and execute, in this case, that means I can't create files or folder if I am not the Debian user or if I am not into the htop user. So let's see. Let's log in as Chryslo. I'm sorry. Type the password. I wrote wrong the password. I'm sorry. Okay, that's perfect. Currently, we are in. Oh my goodness, we are in the team folder. The same information we already seen. So let's create, I don't know, nose by Chryslo text. And as you can see, my user doesn't have permission because it's not into the htop group. So let's add Chryslo to the htop group. And you remember sudo user mod ag secondary group of obvious, and we are use the htop users and the Chryslo. And right now Chryslo has a secondary group, the htop user. So let's back login into the Chryslo user, and as you can see, I can create nose by Chryslo text. Okay, I have to reload my session, so let's log out and log in again. We're back again. So let's create nose by Chris Law text. And the permission is denied. This is weird because I already know why. We can't do this because the htop user only have permission to read and execute, but not for write. So we have to back again Debian, I'm sorry. Debian. I forget how to write Debian. Okay, and we are going to change the folder permissions, use like sudo chmod. Exactly chmod and 775, and I forget the folder team. So let's go to again the Crislow session. We are Crislow again, and touch nose by Crislow text, and as you can see, we create the file because we have the right permission onto the parents folder, who also have the inherent permission that allows to keep the groups to keep the group for all these for other users. Also, the inherent permission are useful. Maybe if you don't want to change user primary group to keep the files and folder files and folder created by user for example, a certain working group like developers. Also, you can create a developers folder and active the set group ID, and all the user into that folder, once they create anything, will be assigned the folder and or the file will be assigned automatically to the user, to the active folder, to the active permission folder's permission. That's right. So I hope this video was helpful. In the next episode, we are going to cover a interesting exercise where, based on the htop command that I can see right now, but let me change export term, xterm, and back again. In the following episode, we are going to use this command to block for all the user, at least you are get into the htop user. That means if you are not a user from htop user, you cannot use this command. At least if you have permission to the sudo command. In other hand, in other way, if you are already into the sudo group, you can perform whatever you want because sudo has all the power into the server. But yeah, if the user has no permission to sudo, and if the user is no longer from the htop users group, so the user can perform htop, because the idea is only for the user inside in this case, in the htop user. But we are going to do that in the next episode. So I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next time. Bye bye.